Deafblind people come in many different shapes and sizes, but there are four main categories of deafblindness. First are those who are congenitally deafblind, born deafblind. The second group are those who are deaf, becoming blind. Another group which are blind first, becoming deaf. And the fourth group is what we call acquired deafblindness. And we're now living in an era where people are living longer. So of course, the population of deafblind people, or people with a dual sensory impairment, is just going to get bigger and bigger. A guide communicator is a vital link and it's a vital lifeline to people who are deafblind. Deafblind people require guide communicators because they are professionally trained communicators. They act as the eyes and ears of somebody who's deafblind. So if they need to go to any meetings, they need to go to an NHS setting, for example, going to a hospital, or the first big problem that they meet up with is coming into the reception. Receptionists don't always know how to react or how to communicate with a deafblind person. So the guide communicator is there to facilitate communication, to ensure that they get the right information, and based on that information and that communication they can make informed decisions as to what to do. Without the guide communicator, they would have great difficulty accessing the NHS or accessing any service. Think simple things like going on holiday, going swimming, doing exercise, going to any meeting. So the role of the guide communicator is there to facilitate communication, to help them to engage, ensure that they have equal access. Going into a meeting, for example, what's very easy for most people is just to sit down and listen. But for a deafblind person to sit in a meeting, you have to think about the background noise, you have to think about the layout of the room, you have to think in relation to where the speakers are. So the guide communicator will try and make the room better for that person. We'll try and organise the lighting. If they're blind, make sure the blinds are down. It's lots of little things that we just take for granted, but it's a big, big difference for someone who's deafblind. So they're acting as the eyes and the ears. So not only is it about communication, it's about getting the information to deafblind people, and thirdly, it's about getting them to a place safely. So we have to think about mobility. And even on a simple journey to a hospital, or going through a hospital. So a guide communicator will explain as they're going along, and tell them what's happening, tell them any pitfalls, negotiate them through doors, negotiate them through crowds, all to make life that much easier for that deafblind person to arrive at an appointment stress-free. So the guide communicators are basically professional communicators, and quite often they will have to adapt to the particular person's requirements or communication needs. And this can be ranging from, depending on how they became deafblind. So if they were profoundly deaf, using British Sign Language as their first language, and then the vision deteriorates, they have to adapt to what's called tactile BSL, or what used to be called hands-on signing, but they're interchangeable names, hands-on signing or tactile BSL. So that's basically where the deafblind person holds onto the hand of the person signing, and they will follow the signs and take the names and things to again a tactile alphabet. The other alternative is what's called deafblind manual, and that's a deafblind alphabet done onto the hand of the deafblind person, and they're following the letters and then building up the words and then the sentences and so forth. The other method would be using what's called clear speech. So this clear speech, which is making sure the person fully understands what's actually being said, because you may have somebody in the room not speaking very clearly, or they're finding it difficult to understand, depending on the hearing loss. If a female speaking and they've lost the high pitch area of the hearing loss, then the person can speak over, basically voicing over what that person has said to make sure they fully understand. The other alternative is BSL, actually using British Sign Language, because for some people who are born profoundly deaf using British Sign Language, they may have somewhat what we call tunnel vision. So it's adapting that British Sign Language to what we call visual frame signing, such as the signing done in front of the face rather than around by the body. So that's the main sort of communication method that guide communicators have to adapt to. So the important thing to remember when booking a service for a deafblind person is to think, if you're booking an interpreter, make sure that the interpreter understands tactile BSL or hands-on signing. So make sure you get the right person for the right situation. Don't just book an interpreter and thinking the interpreter will know what's coming. Don't just book a guide communicator thinking that will cover everything.